All right, Loretta says we gotta get the show on the road. All the Hoodsport fire people are down the street. I think the house that's burning there across from winery. Can't think of their name. The lady works over at the winery, so I hope nobody got hurt. Anyway, I've met them, but I can't think of their name. It's in a mobile home. It's right along.
Yeah, they had a lady that they brought across the street to the emergency van, so I think they must have.
The one beside Skipper John's.
It was right behind Skipper John's. Yeah. Well, I hope nobody was hurt. Well, thanks for coming tonight. We don't have too many here, but this is our effort to get out and talk about clean water and stormwater, particularly. Loretta Swanson is our staff person with Public Works. She also has worked for Department of Ecology, right?
No, Thurston County.
Thurston County. Okay,
Yes.
Thurston County
Yes.
previously. And we have a little road show. I didn't go yesterday. We had one in the afternoon at Public Works Building, and there's one at Belfair tomorrow night.
Correct.
Now, as I can tell you, let me put both hats on real quick. This is, to me, is a double dip recession that we're in right now. We've had a terrible legislative session trying to come up with funding for schools and social services and all the other things. We haven't enacted any new taxes. The legislature did enact a lot of new fees. I feel that we have to reprioritize, and I'll tell you right up front, I'm not interested in new stormwater fees. I'm not interested in new taxes right now. I think we got to reprioritize and keep doing better with what we have. So there are some considerations that Loretta will bring up and some worksheets to keep track of. But I can tell you if it takes another fee to do this, you'll have to go to the other two commissioners to do it. Because I just think we got to reprioritize and live within our means right now, and keep working to get through our recession. It's okay. Did I make myself clear?
Ask them how many people here support you in that.
No, I'm not. I just want to make it clear because people have. I tell you how many people came to Olympia that were so desperate for resources. And I'll just tell you a quick story. A lady wrote me a letter. She's 79 years old. She went in, she's trying to put her estate in order. She wanted to do 3 quitclaim deeds for her children, for her property that she has. She went in, she thought they were going to be $10 a piece at the county auditor's office. They were $62 a piece.
And $20 filing fee for the first page?
Well, the $10 for the quitclaim, and then it add on $20 for homeless prevention, and $10 for this, and $10 for that, $10. So she left there with 62 times 3 instead of $30. So that's just an example. Anyway, Loretta.
All right, with
turn
that,
over to you.
and to follow on Commissioner Sheldon's comments, everyone in this room is very mindful of the times that we're in. And with that, that's one of the very good reasons why we're here talking with you about exactly what our program needs, what are services that you would like to see provided, and hear your thoughts. Because if we do need to tighten our belt or do things more efficiently, then part of what we need to hear from you is what is important to continue. And so that's our opportunity, and that's why we're here this evening. So thank you so very much for coming. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start the meeting with a slideshow presentation. And we're a small enough group that if you have a burning question that you just can't wait until the very end, that's okay. We'll do a quickie question and answer. But if you could hold your questions towards the end, that would be great, because I may answer your question a little bit further down the road in the slideshow. And so you've got, I think most of you have a piece of paper to take some notes. If not, does anyone need a piece of paper or pen to take notes? That you can just jot down your questions and save them to the end. That would be great. There's also another paper that says, program, I'll borrow this for a moment. program components and initial reactions. And before you leave this evening, after the presentation, we have the question and answer period. I would greatly appreciate it if you take a look at this and fill the questionnaire out and leave it with me, because this will help us understand what are priorities to you. So that would be very helpful. And then the other piece is just a little folded clean water brochure, and that's something just to take away, share with friends and neighbors if they have any questions. And there are extra copies if you think that somebody was not in attendance this evening that would like to see that. Feel free to take those and share with friends and neighbors as well. Please do. And they can fill that survey out and send it in and spread the word. Please help us do that. Okay, so why are we here this evening? Is the pen not working? They're new pens and they can be awkward. Debbie's got another set here. So this evening, what I'm going to do, I'll provide an overview of what is a clean water program, what are we talking about here this evening, and then we'll talk about the tough stuff, is how might you pay for a clean water program, and then talk a little bit about next steps. So again, we'll present some options for program components, and we'll talk about various ways to pay for those components. So you may have noticed that we're out monitoring streams, we're out maintaining our road right-of-way systems, we're providing help on agricultural properties, we're doing lots of good work. But the news is, much of that work is grant funded, and so we may only be doing work in certain areas of the county, or we may do it for a very short period of time, and then that work stops. So we have little fits and starts and bits and pieces. And while that's good and we've accomplished a great deal, there are some inefficiencies, and that can be kind of costly. And then of course when the work stops, people say, how come we don't know about what's going on in the lake? I thought we were sampling water to tell us whether or not it's safe to swim. Or, boy, Conservation District was out helping me with a farm problem that I had, and they say that, well, we're stretched too thin. We can't get there until maybe a couple months from now. So we have levels of service that may not always continue. We're looking also at what are our local priorities. What is important to Mason County? We're looking ahead to future permit requirements. There's a thing called a stormwater NPDES permit, and cities and counties of certain populations and sizes are required to have this permit and follow and meet certain permit conditions. And we know sometime in the future that Mason County will have this permit. And of course, we're also thinking about the Puget Sound Action Agenda and how we fit in implementing and carrying out the action agenda here in Mason County. We want to be proactive. We don't want to wait to the last minute and say, grants are over, we're done, or all of a sudden now we're faced with a permit and we have to scramble and figure out how we're going to meet permit requirements. So we're taking this opportunity to look ahead and plan and prepare for all of those. So we started the process, well, actually many years ago. Oops, excuse me.
You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
Quite some time ago. But I'll just start with this April, about a year ago, when the commissioners said, well, let's appoint a stormwater task force, a citizens advisory board, to help with identifying what are the key elements and actions, and help with looking at ways to fund program activities. Some of those task force members are here this evening, because they're very interested in hearing what you have to say, and they will take your comments and considerations as they develop recommendations for the commissioners. We also hired a consultant to help with looking at how to pay for programs and activities. That's their area of expertise. They've been in other jurisdictions. They know different ways of funding and how to make recommendations for funding. So they've been helping with that portion. In December, maybe some of you recall getting a brochure and a postcard in the mail that asked about clean water. It looked very similar to the one you recently had. And that invited folks to a first series of public meetings. And the maps, the meetings were mainly focused around the maps, and we asked people attending to put dots on the maps and identify areas where they saw problems or concerns, whether it was water quality, flooding, erosion, or habitat issues. And so people did that and identified where their problem areas and filled out a description. And this evening, if we have time at the end, if you have a similar concern or issue that you'd like noted, we can do that afterwards, and you put your dot on the map, if you will. And so now we are here, and tonight I'll share with you some options for a clean water program, some options for funding, and take your comments. In the next few months over the summer, we will be revising, taking all the comments into consideration and think about, well, is the program the way it should be? Do we need to pare down some things? Do we need to expand some things? There'll be revisions going on. Then we will have another meeting in November, and we'll bring that revised program back to you and see, well, does this reflect what you had to say? And again, we'll take your comments. And again, we'll have another set of revisions. And hopefully by then we'll get it to reflect our community's priorities. And the Stormwater Task Force will be making final recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. And if the board wishes to set a public hearing, we would expect that that would be sometime in April. So about a little less than a year from now. So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes talking about what we heard from people during the December meetings. And one way that we received feedback from folks was this postcard. And of the people that returned the postcards, about 95% were concerned about water quality and the health of our water here in Mason County. 80% felt that it was important to prevent pollution from happening in the first place. So let's not wait and then solve the problem after the fact. Let's take care of things up front. And 84% felt that it was a joint effort. So in other words, it's not all the county's responsibility. It's not all your individual responsibilities. We work on this together. It's a joint solution. When you came in, you may have noticed around the side here, there was a list of open house comments, and I'll just invite you to take a look at that when we have a moment to take a break. But basically, folks had quite a bit to say about flooding and erosion problems, specific habitat issues. So in other words, were there buffers in their neighborhoods, particularly older developments? Some had questions and concerns about the process, how we're going about developing a program and how we're looking at funding. And some just had somewhat slightly related comments that didn't fit in those neat categories. But please take a look at the comments. You may see that some of them are similar to maybe some thoughts that you have as well this evening. So what is a clean water program? Basically, a collection of programs and activities used to manage our water resources. While water resources can be a broad term, are we talking about sewers? No, we're not talking about sewers tonight. But we are talking about protecting our freshwaters, our lakes and streams and wetlands, our marine waters, and our aquifers. These programs are sometimes called water resource programs, sometimes stormwater programs or stormwater utilities in other jurisdictions. And here in Mason County, we're referring to it as a clean water program. So how did we come up with the program that we're going to show you tonight? And is it a done deal? No, it's not a done deal. We're at the very beginning of this process. This was developed in a collaborative manner with various county departments, and you'll see Debbie Riley here from the health department, but we had utilities and community development and public works and who am I forgetting? Basically all of the various county departments working collaboratively to help put this together. We had the Conservation District. John Bolander is here this evening. They've been very important partners. WSU Extension, Emily Sanford in the back, also a very important partner in helping put together the program. And of course we had a consultant to assist. The tribes have been helpful. Many, many other people have been part of the process. So we looked at existing plans. Why recreate the wheel? We've done a lot of planning. We've had lots of water efforts in Mason County, so let's not recreate something. We looked at our existing watershed plans. We looked at the Puget Sound Action Plan, stormwater plans. What's left to do? What did we say previously that was important that we need to continue? We took a look at what other jurisdictions are doing because, again, why recreate the wheel? They've been there. They know what's ahead for permit requirements. They know what it costs and what it takes. So I've talked about this permit requirement. I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a second. And of course, we considered input from citizens just like yourselves from previous meetings. So what is this NPDES permit besides a mouthful of alphabet soup? NPDES stands for National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, which probably means nothing. But basically it is a stormwater permit that is issued to cities and counties. It's a federal permit by EPA, and it is administered here in Washington State by the Department of Ecology. Right now, the permit is underway for some revisions, and Mason County is not under a permit, so we're not required to meet NPDES permit requirements at this time, but we know somewhere down the road it's coming, and we know what those permit conditions are. So this is generally the main components that I will provide kind of a quickie overview for you of what we're looking at or considering to be parts of a clean water program. And they reflect the program components that you have on your sheet for a survey. So my next series of slides that I will go through will talk a little bit about each of those components. And again, I want to emphasize that this is a work in progress. So we're starting out in June. We're going to revise and refine, bring this back to you again in November, revise and refine, and back again in April. Okay, so I'll just talk about how this next series of slides are organized. I'll talk a little bit about what the program includes. I'll highlight whether or not it is an actual permit requirement, and then give an idea of what the maximum estimated annual funding gap is. And again, I want to say that that's a maximum. It very well could be that I suppose it's possible it might be something bigger, but I surely hope not. But it could be that it's something less as well, or not at all. Again, that's part of what we're here to talk about this evening. So, public education and outreach. This includes a variety of workshops, training activities, youth outreach, youth activities, meeting like tonight, just sharing information with you and hearing back from you. This is an MPDS permit requirement. So if we were to become, or were required to have this permit, we would absolutely have to carry out these activities. And we've estimated that this could cost up to $160,000 per year to carry out this work. The next item is development regulations. And again, this is an MPDS permit requirement if we were to be under a permit. And the permit spells out some very specific requirements in terms of reviewing plans that are submitted for stormwater improvements. It requires that we are inspecting many times during the building process, and it also requires that we enforce if need be. And so this is an area where we're estimating we could spend up to another $300,000 and some per year, and mainly that is in increasing our level of plan review, inspection, and enforcement. The next category is technical assistance. This is not an MPDS permit requirement, so this is not something we would have to do. But what this provides is assistance to property owners that may have drainage problems on their property. Has anyone here ever called the county or conservation district or WSU and said, hey, I've got a drainage problem, I need some help with it? Anybody experienced that before? Many people have, and if they call Public Works, we go out and take a peek at it, and if it has something to do with our road right-of-way, then we can certainly help and assist with that problem. But if it is outside of the road right-of-way, we're limited because we cannot use road funds to go off and do work outside of road right-of-way. So at that point, we say, well, here's how your problem might be solved, and by the way, maybe the conservation district can help you out a little bit more with helping to solve that problem, and they do in many, many cases. But I can tell you that we have a lot of folks calling that it's often hard to respond to all the requests. John, have you, I guess, you've experienced a great deal of an increase in calls to the CD for this service?
We get frequent calls.
Yeah. So what this particular piece, we're estimating that this might cost up to $400,000 per year to provide additional technical assistance to folks experiencing problems. And again, it could be a range, but this is our starting point. The next item is water quality monitoring. And what this would propose is to establish a rotating monitoring throughout Mason County, watershed by watershed. And we would start in one watershed and perform monitoring in certain locations, fresh marine waters, and collect that data. And if we found there were some hot spots, then we would follow up on that information. And then the next year we would move to the next watershed, conduct more monitoring, and move along through a rotating cycle. This is not an NPDES permit requirement. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I came here late, but
Yes.
does the department test for pesticides and insecticides and other toxic chemicals or just for bacterial?
Right now, we do not test for pesticides and I'm not sure in this program whether we would either. We would look at basic stormwater constituents, which would be metals. We would look at total suspended solids. We would look at bacteria. What other?
Petroleum byproducts.
Yes,
When you say metals, you're talking about lead?
copper, yes,
Copper.
and zinc, yes.
Well, I'm sorry, but why not other known carcinogens?
Well, typically, monitoring, number one, is very expensive, and particularly for those types of constituents. And so, usually when jurisdictions start a monitoring program, they will have the basic constituents, and if it looks like there's a problem, it's referred to as indicator constituents. Then you can kind of pick further, and if you need to have further sampling, then you will do that. But you don't necessarily start off with the most expensive samples right off the bat.
Because I'm just always puzzled. I see road crews spraying pesticides on the roads to keep the weeds down,
Mhm.
herbicides,
Okay,
and that gets into the water table, obviously.
yeah. All right. I'm sorry, you did come in late. I asked folks that if we could hold our questions
Okay.
to the end. That's
Sure,
fine,
sure.
that's fine, no problem. And also there's some paper there and notes, so if you forget your question, just please jot her down. And
Yeah.
great, thank you.
I just have a question.
Hold your questions to the end.
but
Yes,
I'm
no,
able to
I'm
remember it.
sorry.
My brain's too small. I share his concern with pesticides,
Mhm.
and I've threatened the county with chemical trespass a couple times, but are you intending also to protect salt water or only fresh water? And I have a reason for asking that question. So is salt water also within your purview?
The monitoring program
For salt
would
water?
include marine waters as well.
Well, then following up this gentleman's question, we know we have a big problem with dioxin,
Mhm.
and there's no plans to even clean it up, although I would like to see us quit digging the hole deeper. What are you going to do about the dioxin contamination and the ongoing dioxin contamination and monitoring that and putting a stop to it?
Okay, alrighty. I'm not going to be able to respond to that right
Okay,
now,
well, I
but
just wanted to ask.
yeah, you bet. And we will take, when we get to the question and answer portion, we will be writing down your questions. If we can respond this evening, we absolutely will. And if we cannot respond this evening, we will find an answer and we will get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So for this particular piece, we're estimating this to be an annual expense of up to $380,000. Next category is on-site septic system maintenance. And this is a program to inventory, track, and make sure that our on-site systems are in good operating order. It includes workshops. Have any of you attended one of the on-site septic system workshops put on by the county? Yes, no, maybe, yeah. This is not an NPDES permit requirement, but it's absolutely an important tool in making sure that we have clean water. We estimate this to be about $200,000 per year. Public Works drainage operations and maintenance. So this is basic going out, making sure our conveyances are clean and open and moving water, making sure that we're using best management practices so that we're not impacting drainages or impacting water quality when we perform our maintenance. This absolutely is an NPDES permit requirement. So again, if we were under this stormwater permit in the future, we have to comply with very specific requirements on how we go about maintenance, how we report our maintenance activities. Now, this is funded already, and it's ongoing already, almost to the tune of a little over $900,000 per year, and that will continue. What we are estimating, though, is if we were under a permit, we would have additional reporting requirements and training requirements, and probably some other activities for disposal, reports for our individual maintenance sites, and this could